instinctive and so passionate. Every word I move so descriptive like an adjective. I got a vendetta against people who patented being negative when you should be getting after it. I got facts over facts.
Well, everybody, I made it back home. I could say yay, yay, and happy, happy, and everything else. Hopefully you all can see me. We're going to go ahead and see if we're live. Well, everybody, I made it back. Yeah, I guess I'm live. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the channel once again. You know it is JJ with you on the build. Okay. Okay, we're good there. Make sure you get your drink and snacks, by the way. All right. Today, we're going to have a little bit of a powwow. There's a lot of things cooking. A little bit of tech talk with you guys. Just myself. I'm kind of trying to calm down and get the, because my car doesn't have any air conditioning right now. Because I got to take and fix the magnetic plate that's in for the transmission. So, I mean, not the transmission, for the AC pump. So I'm going to have to work on that. I'm going to have to use a little bit of ingenuity since I don't have the money to pay for that right now. But I'm going to have to fix that with a little bit of drilling, a little bit of epoxy, and hopefully it works. So we'll go from there and see if we're going to, if it works out or not. But I'm going to be checking in for that. But that's not why we're here today. We're here to talk about, and let's go to the action screen so that way you guys can see what we're talking about. Alrighty, we made it on the action screen right here. And yes, I know I haven't put out the big cursor yet, but I will. I am working on that as we speak. So that way you guys can see the mouse pointer a little bit better. And we'll freshen it up. And here we go. NVIDIA next. China-specific Blackwell B30 AI chip rumored to see significant demand, dominating the inferencing market. So let's go ahead and just scroll down and see what we can find. NVIDIA B30 AI chip rumored to be a cost-effective solution, 40% cheaper than the H20 AI GPU. Guys, the thing is this. All this hoopla about when it comes to them making graphics cards, obviously they're not making graphics cards. So, and yes, I know you're seeing my screen flicker a little bit. It's something with OBS. Got some problems with OBS, so bear with it for a couple minutes. China, this is by Jucan, said the NVIDIA B30 industry notes. China's major internet company estimate that the performance of the NVIDIA B30 is approximately 75% that of the H20. They placed an order for hundreds of thousands of units. Said USD 1 billion. late June, with delivery expected in August. Oh, that's kind of funny that all of a sudden, and I'm gonna do a little bit of a bash on to NVIDIA for this. For the simple fact that I understand they're trying to deal with these big companies, I guess because they make big money with these companies, that they're not focusing on the gamers whatsoever. So if that's the case and they're not focusing on what we're doing, but they're going to jack up the price on us just to meet the demand of making more money with those high-end graphics cards they're selling to China. So the way it looks is that the silicon is all redirected for China. Are we going to get any of this action? Maybe, maybe not. Slim picking. That's what it's looking like. And now nobody wants to buy their graphics cards because they jack the price up so high. Guess what? The ones that do are the 1%ers. They might have sold 100 to 200,000 of the 50 series. Maybe. Way people are talking, it's just drizzling out. So by the time they get done, they'll probably sell 350,000 cards. But most of that's going to be to the 1% or the 5% now these days. So when it comes to the gamers, we're stuck flipping the bill. You know, we're stuck flipping the bill because they all of a sudden had a change of heart. Now this is, I know I said it's kind of a little bit of a bash on, but I think that they should have put a focus more on the gaming community than they have. But they didn't, so it's just we move on and we just go to better things. So as we're moving on, 5080 Astro, the Hatsune Miku, hopefully I said that right, the Hatsune Miku, GPU matching hardware series. And y'all know that's Asus. And they're claiming this card right here is going to be a very pricey card. Very pricey. They're claiming, I think they were claiming about $5,000 for the card. So we got 16,999 RMB. It will cost that. But it looks like that it's going to be, unless I'm wrong, it could be that it's the whole PC. You know, truthfully, guys, this right here looks like somebody coughed a whole bunch of crap on it. It's a good kid's computer, but for me to have a computer like this, somebody coughed a bunch of crap on it. You know, it's not my taste, not my cup of tea. I know you guys are going to say, Jay, you know, it looks good and all. It's got waifu on it. Yeah, it's got a $5,000 waifu on it. Not my cup of tea. Moving on. Galaxy RTX 5090D HOF OC. Lab with dual 16-pin connectors. Lands on eBay starting almost at $5,500. Yep. Another card that somebody done coughed on. This is what they were showing. So it's got two 12x6 connectors. So it's going to be, if you buy it on eBay, good luck to you. It's not happening. Moving on. This I thought was interesting. Silicon Motion unveils the first PCIe Gen 6 SSD controller for enterprise SM8466 with up to 28 gigabits per second, speed at 512 terabyte capacities. Not too bad. Not too bad. So they're working on 6.0 SSDs. Looks like PCIe 6.0 is going to be coming sooner or later. That's what it's looking like. It's got, yeah. I mean, looks like it's going to be coming sooner or later. But that don't make sense. Well, it's 28 gigabits per second over the 14 gigabits of existing PCIe Gen 5 SSDs. Also drive up to 7 million IOPS. So now we have a baseline to compare against the previous generation. So 4 nanometer versus 12 nanometer, 512 terabyte versus 128 terabyte, 28 gigabits per second versus 14.2 gigabits per second, 7 million IOPS versus 3.5 million IOPS. Wow. If this is the case, then what's going to be happening, it looks like that they're really going to be pushing, as of probably late this year or next year, Gen 6. If they're doing it on server base right now, you know it's going to be coming to desktop, and you know it's going to be coming to laptop, you know, and they're going to be moving forward with that. Even though that they haven't ironed out all the problems with PCIe Gen 5, they're still pushing forward to Gen 6. So, guys, just let me know what you think about that. If you think it's going to be something that's going to be good, bad, or ugly, let me know. So, moving on down the streamline. More news. Okay, upcoming hardware launches in 2025. Updated May 2025. Let's go through the updates. May 13th. I know this is July, but it's the latest update I can find. Looks like they updated the AMD Ryzen 9000G. Looks like they upped the AMD Zen 5 Threadripper 9000, which was the 9995WX, as opposed to have 96 cores. It's supposed to be a bad beast. AMD Zen 6, so it looks like there's a lineup for that. Intel Bartlett Lake for gaming. Intel Panther Lake, Intel Nova Lake, Intel Raster Lake, Intel Griffin Cove, NVIDIA N1 ARM CPU for desktop. Looks like that's coming soon. We already got the 5060, the 5050. And it looks like they're doing the update on the 5080 Super and the 5070 Super. The 9060 XT, we already got that. No, we didn't get the ARC B580 with 24 gigabytes of VRAM. And they might have an ARC B580 dual GPU with 48 gigabytes of VRAM. Wow, that's going to be something. You guys let me know what you think on that. Let me know what you think. AMD UDNA, that's nothing new. Intel Celestial Architecture, wow, they're already pushing forward with that. Updated TSMC 1.4 nanometer. Samsung 2 nanometer, Samsung 1 nanometer. Wow. Intel 14A. Removed from launch products. Looks like the 5060 Ti, the 9070 GRE, and the CXL interconnect. That's an NVIDIA thing. Okay, processors 9000G. Release date Q4 2025 for a 9000G. It'd be Zen 5 architecture and RDNA 3.5 integrated graphics. Similar to the mobile only Strix Halo, Strix Point, and Kraken Point APUs. Codename Gorgon Point. That ought to be interesting. Sockets AM5 up to 12 cores total. Not bad. So it'd be 4x Zen 5 cores plus 8x Zen 5C cores. That'll be interesting. And Radeon 890M iGPU XDNA 2 NPU. Oh, it's going to be neural processing. Interesting. And this is what I was talking about, the AMD Zen 5 Threadripper 9000WX updated. The release date was at Computex. Another leak suggests late 2025. Codename is Shamalda Peak. Zen 5 architecture. Same socket as Zen 4 Threadripper, 96 cores. Threadripper gets support for 3D V-cache memory. Threadripper 9975WX, 32 cores, 64 threads. 9965WX, 24 cores, 48 threads. Most models planned in with 16, 64, and 96 cores. 32 megabytes L3 per CCD. Now, if they do 96, that's going to be 3 CCDs. Probably. 8-channel memory interface, 128 PCIe Gen 5 lanes. Not bad. Up to 350 watt TDP. Release date, the Ryzen 9 9955HX3D. Jeez, they got so many damn long ass names. Wow. Supposed to be release date 2025. Laptop CPU with 3D V-cache. Laptop CPU with 3D V-cache. 64 megs of L3. 16 Zen 5 cores up to 5.4 gigahertz. 55 watts to 75 watt power limit. Zen 5C. Unknown release date. 16 cores per CCD in a single CCX that shares 32 megs of L3 cache. Wow. Produce on more advanced 3 nanometer node at Zen 5. Gorgon Point shows up 2026 with, looks like it's zone 4. Oh, Born Joker, good to see you, my friend. Welcome to the live stream. Sorry that I am late. I had a small emergency, like I said on the first one, but now we're on the second one. So, man, talk about some good deals for Prime Day. Asus TUF B650 for 110. Asus TUF X870 for 140. Matching power supplies and AIOs for 60 bucks. If I had the money, I would have bought the stuff for 3 or 4 PCs. Wow. Samsung 2 terabyte Gen 4 SSD for 80 bucks. Oh man, that sounds like it's a good deal. The thing is, I would do Prime Day, but I apologize, guys. I don't have a Prime Day account. So they're not going to show me the Prime Day, deals. I would have done that, but, in the future, when I get things settled. Not much, Born Joker. Not much, man. I had a little bit of emergency earlier. I had to take a friend to go and do a job thing. He had to, it's medical field kind of stuff, so can't really talk about it. But we made it back. I know the stream's a little bit late, but I'm still going to do my 2 hours like I always do. I was just mentioning some of the upcoming stuff for AMD, Intel, NVIDIA. Usually they have an offer to give you Prime free for 30 days. That's what I used. I tried that the last time, bro. I did try that the last time. They asked me for a credit card, and I gave them the finger. There's no way I'm going to let Amazon have a credit card of mine. They asked me for a credit card. What do they think? They think I'm the Bank of America or something? I don't think so. But this Gorgon Point looks like it's pretty good. I mean, it's got 55 tops. It's going to be well ready for whatever Microsoft is going to throw at it. So, and it's got a lot more here, guys. I mean, the one thing that I was looking at was, this was the AMD Zen 6 updated. Codename Morpheus, Soundwave, Medusa Point laptop. Medusa Point uses soldered BGA, similar size and Z height, and Strix Point, another leak, suggests bigger footprint. FP10. Codename Olympic Ridge. Desktop. That's going to be coming out. That's going to be supporting the AM5 socket. 10% IPC increase over Zen 5. New Ep.56. They say not sure if 1 or 2 CCX for 16 cores. They got a server, they got Epic, they got many things cooking coming out. They got an iGPU that has 16 CUs. So, looks like the hot thing that's going to be going on. But they say another leak suggests RDNA 3.5 for GFX, 1153 for the Medusa, and RDNA 4 for Olympic. Going back up, the Olympic Ridge. So, that looks like it's a good deal. Hell, I wish I had the... Hey, Machine, good to see you. Good to see you, my man. Hell, I wish I just had the money to order a few of the CPUs. I got the 4600K with a free 1 terabyte SSD for 164. Amazon had the 9600 EX or XT for 154. Oh, you're on lunch, Machine? That's cool. That's cool, my man. When I have the chance, I want to build an AMD CPU PC and an Intel CPU PC. See which one sells faster. That's a good thing to go about with that, man. I mean, I can tell you the way things are going on right now and the rumors that's happening with Intel, everybody's going to be swinging towards AMD. You know, it's going to be an AMD kind of year. NVIDIA, the N1X SoC, system on chip. This is what's got me kind of thinking. Will be used on upcoming Windows, on ARM laptops, MediaTek collaboration, Blackwell architecture, N1X and N1 non-X, 180 to 200 AI tops, volume 3 million units. Wow. Wow. And so on. This is the refresh for Arrow Lake. Only the K and KF SKUs. Could be canceled or resurrected. Adds NPU inside of the SoC tile. 48 top NPUs, which it's not going to cover because Microsoft has already said you need the minimal of 50. You need the minimal of 50 tops. They've already said this. You need the minimal of 50 tops. So, and it looks like they're going to be on called the Core Ultra 300. And Nova Lake becomes Core Ultra 400 on socket LGA 1851. Wow. A lot cooking on the inner boob. Born Joker says, when I first started building, I was all about AMD, but I started to realize how much you get from a cheap Intel CPU. You can easily waste 30% of your budget on AMD, which is true. That's why I am waiting to build my next PC. I don't blame you, machine. I don't blame you 100. I don't blame you guys any one bit. Let me get that out of the way. And let me get this big hand out of the way too. Oh, let me minimize the socketry. Okay, now we're back to square one. I'm going to tell you guys the reason why I'm not building right now is because I'm waiting for the prices to come down. Right now, they're just ridiculous. To me, I think they're ridiculous. Serious ridiculous. I don't know what you guys think, but I think it's ridiculous. You're waiting for the CPUs to be top compliant. I know, machine. I know you're waiting for that. That's all good, bro. AI tops, yeah, you're going to need at least 50 minimal. But I'm still thinking, man, and I'm going to tell you, because your GPU is supposed to be GPU based. So NVIDIA has a lock on the tops, you know, for the 50 series, for the 40 series, and I think for the 30 and the 20 series. So I think they got it locked. I think they're just waiting because they're sucking all the life out of everybody when it comes to, you know, the graphics cards. I don't see anything better than a 14600K. Basically $100 and a motherboard for $130 anytime soon. There's just better selection with Intel, and AMD's prices don't make sense. I agree with that, you know. Sometimes they don't make sense, but depending on where you buy it from, they could make sense. So always keep that in mind, because there's always room for picking your battles when it comes to picking CPUs and motherboards. Machine says I need to have at least 12 cores on my next one. You know, I'm thinking, I'm looking into a Xeon processor with 16 core 32 thread just to test. I'm going to be looking for that. I got 988 tops for a $500 GPU. Yeah, well, I mean, that's where all the tops are. It's waiting on NVIDIA, waiting on AMD, waiting on even Intel to start producing the software to upgrade us to that next level. We're waiting for that. So, I always seem to pick heavy games, CPU heavy games. Yeah, I know, bro. But one day you're gonna figure that fine tune, and you're just gonna go with it. I'm telling you. Hey, Fake Frames, good to see you. AMD is not as good on the budget right now compared to Intel. If you go to AMD, you'll want a higher tier CPU, like a 7800 X3D or a 9800 X3D. Yes and no. I got a 5700X. I'm still on AM4, and I'm still rocking my 4070. I haven't gone anywhere in the last couple years. So, truthfully, it still works. And as long as my computer keeps working, there's no sense of me upgrading it anytime soon. Once it stops working, that's the time I'm going to upgrade. I think the 14600K has 20 cores. I think so too. But I got to look. I will tell you, it has 14 cores, 20 threads. That's what it says. 14 cores, 20 threads. It's got a frequency of 5.3 gigahertz, has 24 megabytes of L3, and it's a LGA 1700 socket with 600 and 700 series motherboards, from what this says. So, yeah, I know, I hear you, man. Yeah. Well, still, 14 core, 20 threads, not bad. I mean, that's not bad at all. I mean, not unless you're thinking of the 14700K, and I think that's a little bit higher in the core count. So, yeah, I think you're thinking about the 14700K. But how many E-cores do you use in gaming? Not sure how Intel E-cores work in gaming. Machine. A lot of people say using 14th gen, 13th, and 12th gen. They go into the BIOS and they like disable the E-cores, and they get better performance, they say. But we never know, because everybody tries to disable the E-cores. But on the Core 9 and and so on, the new CPUs, you can't do that. And a lot of people are kind of upset about that too. So, Big Frame says 14700K is the one with the cores, since it has 8P cores and 12E cores. So it's got 20. I agree with you. That's the reason why I said 14700K. Yeah, compared to what you get from AMD for that price, like 6 cores. Yeah. I got an 8-core 16-thread processor. I'm happy with it right now. So, E-cores are not good for gaming. They are used for background tasks and streaming while you are gaming on P-cores. Yeah, I kind of figured that. It's all good for gaming because it doesn't bog down your system with all the crap that's going to be on your computer. Yeah. Once you streamline your computer, you really don't need the E-cores. They're just extra parked in the background that you really don't need. So would a 14600K be better at gaming than a 7700X in most games? You guys can answer that one. Fake Frame says 14600K is the same in gaming as a 7700X. Born Joker says, in my opinion, it would absolutely destroy it. It's 2 rank above a 9800X3D on the CPU chart, so you tell me what is better buy. What's the better buy? Well, you're kind of right there, Born Joker, because if you look at it, if you go from the 7700X at 8-core 16 thread compared to 14 core 20 threads, so there's going to be a big difference between the two. I mean, you got I'm agreeing with you. You get the same 10% bottleneck at 1080p with either a 14600K or the 9800X3D. The 7700 is not going to hold up to that. Now these days, yeah, I mean, coming down to it, it's just, now they're looking at the 7700X as a low model processor. Not a lot of people want to stay with 8 cores anymore. They want to move up to like 12 and 16 because they're finding that they're getting more performance. Hello there, Cyborg. Good to see you. Good to see you. Welcome to the stream, man. Have you tested the 4090 with the 9800X3D? Not me. I like to. Hey, Dakota, good to see you, man. Good to see you. Welcome to the stream. I'm waving back. Yes, my neck's cricked up like it normally is. So either I'm gonna get a stool for my chair so it pumps me up even more, or you guys are going to have to crick your neck down a little bit more so that way I can see you better. If you haven't tested it yourself, I'm not going to get into that battle. That's between you all. I just want to understand all of this better. Machine, I'm going to explain it just like I know it. Okay? There's caveats between AMD and Intel. AMD has a more gaming base. Intel has a more server end base. But when Intel got into the gaming, their processors seem to handle a little bit more than AMD back then. But now 9950X3D is king. But that's in gaming. But in content creating work, the 285K works better than the 9950X3D. So you got your caveat. You got one that does gaming, that does content creating, that does office work, and so on. Intel fills all the buckets. Now with AMD, they're only filling half the buckets. You try content creating with an X3D processor, guys. It does not work so well. I tell you that right now, it don't work so well. Listen, if you want to be an AMD fanboy to justify your purchase, that's fine. But don't try to convince me. See, everybody's got their beliefs, guys. Let's kind of fuel it down a little bit. Everybody's got their own belief on what they like, so it's not the matter of that. If you like Intel, hey, there's no problem with that. If you like AMD, there's no problem with that. And guess what? Soon, everybody's going to say NVIDIA. So you're going to have 3 to worry about. Not just 2, 3. So there's going to be a lot of fanboys that's going to be in here. And I'm going to tell you guys, and I'm going to be honest with you. I'm a fan of the hardware. I don't look at being a fanboy of AMD or NVIDIA or Intel or any of them. If the hardware is good, that's what I'm a fan of. I don't worry about the stuff in the background. That's just noise. So, building a PC with the 7700 right now has to be the worst decision you possibly can make. True, but there's also alternatives what it can be used for. Now these days, yeah, because of the new generation that's going to be coming up between AMD and Intel, yeah, it's going to be like your head in the sand. So the next step up would be the 9700X. Hit that like button, people. Thanks, Cyborg. I appreciate that, bro. Born Joker says, if you want to go AMD and you have the budget, at least get an X870E motherboard. X870E, because it has the BIOS update that'll allow you to go to 9,000 microtransfers. Supposedly, from what I heard. Supposedly. And a 9600X. Why a 9600X? Isn't that 6 core? Why not a 9700X, which would be 8 core? It would make more sense to have those 2 extra cores, especially with AMD. If you're on a strict budget, you cannot beat until you're going to have so much extra money for your GPU. If you want to build in stages, AMD is not a bad choice for strictly gaming. Yeah, I agree. Oh, you meant Intel. Let me see. if you're going to buy a 9700X, you might as well get a 7800X 3D for an extra $50. True. True. But there's a but to that. If you're gonna get a 7800X 3D, then you're gonna suffer the consequences with the 600 series motherboards. Putting a 7800X 3D on an 800 series motherboard is torture. Some people are talking about that. Just don't go ASRock. Just don't do the ASRock thing. Next Ryzen is going to be between 6.4 and 7.4 gigahertz confirmed. YOLO! Welcome back once again. I do agree. I did see that in the leaks. But we'll see what happens. I'm waiting to see if it's going to happen. So when a game like Black Ops 6, when you're already getting 250 frames, do you really need 50 more frames for 1% lows? It's going to be the same anyway. Yeah, well, is the extra $50 worth the 1% more? Not really. Especially if you're getting 250 frames. It's not really a thing. Fake frames, I do agree. I mean, it's not, like I said, it's a rumor right now. It's not been confirmed by anybody. So, I do agree. Every time an X3D gives you more, it's a situation where you really don't need it anyway after 1440p. It makes almost zero difference. Are you going to play it in 1080p? Born Joker, I'm going to tell you something. I use DSR. I can go from 1080p, 1440p, or 4K. I know it's not changing, the actual resolution of the monitor, but it's actually changing the resolution of the pixels. So that's the reason why I do dynamic screen resolution. It looks way better. And there's a lot less lag. I mean, my latency frames are like down to like 12 milliseconds. So I'm happy with that. Yellow says I got confirmed from other sources. Well, that's cool. That's cool, but like I said, I'm waiting like everybody else to see if it's going to happen. No, a 14600K is about $300 to $400 less than a 9800X 3D, which that CPU's compared with. Do you think you'd be better off spending an extra $300 on your GPU? Absolutely, of course. Yeah, I do agree. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were blowing up the sockets at only 5.4. So wait and see what happens with those. It's going to be a year before those can be trusted. Yeah, I know. Right now, they don't have the greatest reputation, so people are kind of backing off of that rep. But I'm going to tell you, I mean, I'm just not going to spend the high dollar that Intel wants for their next generation. I'm not going to spend the high dollar, and I'm not going to get their lower end neither, is because it doesn't satisfy the cause. I mean, their lower end, you know, like the 265 or like the 235 or whatever. Okay. The price on it, on all of them, are ridiculous. So that's the reason why I'm not even thinking about Intel right now. That's all I do is look at stuff. Yeah, I know. Same here. I do the same thing every day. I literally watch every day PC build on YouTube. That's all I do every day, 7 days a week. Yellow says, I think Intel is cooked this gen. Well, actually, they put out that refresh. They put out that refresh notice for the Core 9 and the Core 7, I think, and whatever else for their next generation. Why are they doing refreshes? This doesn't make sense. Why are they just refreshing stuff? That's what they did with the 12th gen, made a 13th gen, and then refreshed it again, made a 14th gen. I was hoping they would have went up to 20th gen by now and stayed on the same socket. But no, they didn't. Not even AMD's putting out many CPUs, if you noticed. Going back 2 years to now, they haven't put out that many. They haven't even put out their non-K version, or their non-XT versions, or their non-X3Ds. You know, the plain ones. They haven't even put those out. AMD's still supporting AM4. I mean, it's crazy. Absolutely, I do not recommend the newest Intel CPUs. They are ridiculous in their performance to price. Yeah, that's the whole thing. But the 14th gen is still the king right now. Yeah, I do agree. In Intel's world. Listen, by the technology from a year ago for your CPU, get the newest technology for your GPU. There you go. Either way, you're gonna be good. True. It depends on how much money you have to spend. Honestly, if you budget, it isn't a thing, and you care about is gaming, then hell yeah, I get AMD. Those kind of builds don't sell. You have to put too much money into them. Going back to work, Jay. Talk to you later. All right, Machine. We'll talk at you later, bro. Have a great night at work. We'll talk to you soon. Guys, I understand this. It doesn't matter if it's AMD. It doesn't matter if it's Intel. It's what your preference is. It's what, like Born Joker says, what you can afford. Okay? If you can afford a low-end AMD CPU with a low-end AMD or low-end motherboard, it could be, you know, the only ones making the motherboards, you got, you know, like Asus, you got Gigabyte, you got ASRock, you got MSI, you know, and you got some others. When it comes, that comes to your motherboard. Now, if you want to rock with MSI, then rock with MSI. You can still get a great motherboard for AM4 and still get, well, I was about to say you can get a better price on DDR4, but since they turned around, they played, oh, I'm discontinuing it kind of thing, that they're going to discontinue DDR4, and then the prices started to drop down on DDR5. So guess what? They started to reproduce the DDR4 so they can bank on people buying DDR4. How stupid do they think people are? They tried to do a bait and switch on DDR4. You guys know this as well as I. They tried to bait and switch it. Tell everybody, oh, we're discontinuing it. And then turn around when the price started to drop on DDR5 and the price went up on DDR4, they started reproducing DDR4. Don't fall into the bait and switch, what I'm going to tell you. Like I said, start off with AMD, but when you have to make every penny count, you start looking at things different. Oh, you love them both. Yeah, I know. I do too, man. I do. But like I said, in order for it to count, it's got to be worth it. My processor I've been rocking with for a couple years now. It's held up to everything I threw at it. So I'm not going to complain about it. I could have went up to the 5950X. 16 core, 32 thread on AM4. I didn't. Because I knew how to control the BIOS. I went into the BIOS and I kind of overclocked the frequency, but lowering the amount of wattage at the same time, giving me a nice decent balance. And guess what? It rocks. I don't have a problem with it. I wouldn't get anything but Asus or MSI. The other ones aren't worth 20 bucks you might save. I know. That's why I said MSI, and you guys know I'm rocking with Asus on my motherboard. So, yeah. I would either rock with Asus or MSI myself. Not unless, you know, you got Gigabyte out there, they changed their ways, other than cheaping out on some of their products that you guys don't see, like their capacitors, their resistors, the diodes, and stuff like that on their motherboards, or the PCB, the amount of layers on the PCB, as far as the foot in the back. If you don't know what I mean by the foot in the back, the foot in the back, the foot right here. They cheaped out on that too. And that's where all the traces, all those traces are running through there. And you know what? Watching enough of those repair videos on broken foot from Gigabyte, you know, you kind of learn that they're not using a thick enough PCB. So, just my opinion. They're good boards. It's the BIOS. Yeah. They don't even know how to name correctly when it comes to the fan headers, or when it comes to the RGB headers. You got to take and turn around and scour the internet to find out what the location of what is. I had that problem already. You know what I did with the Gigabyte motherboard? I threw it in the garbage. That's what happened. It's because they don't know how to keep it standard and know how to put the right to put the right things on there. I mean, when you got somebody that's a total noob that's learning how to build the first time, they're not going to know that you're going to be putting hugs and kisses, X's and O's, right where the fan header's supposed to be. They don't even know if that's the RGB 5 volts. Not a lot of people understand where the pin position, you know, that's the big difference when it comes to the RGB and the fan headers. But still, when somebody's new learning, they don't want to have to take and look at numbers on a motherboard and go and have to search through a book and can't find it in the book. And then they have to go online to various websites just to find the schematic of the motherboard. I already went through this crap with Gigabyte. That's why I'm not a fan of it. It's because they made it so difficult for people that are first time building. But nobody wants to get to that point. If you want to overclock, Asus is really the only choice. Yeah, that's why I got Asus motherboard, because I know it's the only choice. I do agree. Corsair 2500X 14600K B760M. Project Zero 750 watt MSI PSU, 240 millimeter MSI AIO, 32 gigabytes of 6400 CL32, 2 terabyte SSD, $1,200 on the build. I could make a lot more money off of the builds, but I like building really nice computers. Hey, I don't blame you, man. I do not blame you whatsoever. My build was only $1,250 when I bought it. Okay. So, that's including the graphics card. I'm not complaining about mine, because I got a Asus Strict Series motherboard. And if people would actually learn something here, which I'm trying to teach you guys something, if you go to the last generation high-end last generation, you're going to get a better deal than trying to go to the current generation today. Because that high-end last generation's already been benchmarked. The numbers are already out there, so you know what you're looking at. And that's exactly what I did. So, hey DV, good to see you. Welcome to the live stream, man. Your build was probably almost exactly what I did only a year ago or so. I'm imagining. Yeah, pretty much, probably. But, you know, the pieces worked. And here's even the best kicker of it all. Every one of the NVIDIA updates I have installed from day one. Every one of them. Every one of them. I have yet to crash. I have not crashed. I've put in every update one by one since the first day I bought my 4070. I have yet to uninstall. The current drivers to put in the new ones. Not once. I just put one in after another, after another, after another. And I'm yet to crash. So I got lucky. You're welcome, man. Anytime, anytime. I offer an alternate with Tough Z790 motherboard in case somebody is more serious about their PC. Oh, Born Joker, I am serious about my PC. Oh, I'm definitely serious about mine. Because mine, I can go in and I can rock it really hard. So, even though you guys might think that, you know, I'm on a dead-end platform, yeah, that is true. But as long as AMD keeps adding to this platform with new CPUs, it's not yet dead. So as long as they're updating the drivers, it's not dead. As long as my CPU can keep up with the current gaming, this platform is not dead. Just my point. I have a new Lee & Lee V100 case for those. People having problems with NVIDIA drivers have got something else going on in their system. YOLO, I agree with you, and I've already said this. It has to be the platform. It has to be and from what I've been seeing, people on 600 series motherboards are having an issue. 600 series motherboards. I haven't heard too many issues about the 800. I've just been hearing about the 600. It has to be an update. It has to be a BIOS update. I mean, I got 50% on one side that says nothing's wrong. 50% on the other side that says they're having a bunch of problems. How do I balance that? I mean, I'm not having no problems. I mean, I just can't figure it out. It has to be the platform. It's either that they're having problem with the 50 series because of the PCIe lanes, and if the motherboard doesn't fully support it, yeah. I mean, there's already been many people that's been saying, you know, on the 4.0 series, the 4.0x16, people are complaining that the 5.0 isn't working as fast. They're even saying it with content creating. It's not working as fast. So you have to take the good with the bad. I mean, you have to, if you're going to go one way, you have to take the other way as well. So if you're willing to sacrifice to go up to a 5.0 graphics card on a 4.0 motherboard, I just don't see the compatibility. That's just my opinion. I am rocking on 576.88. Let me double check. See, I gotta double check now. See what you guys are doing to me? Now you're making me gotta go and double check. Okay, let's see. Drivers. I am currently rocking on 576.88, the most current driver. The most current driver. So, I don't know. I understand that fake frames, but the thing is that's what the 50 series. Obviously, it has to be a motherboard issue because nothing else is making sense. If you got one computer that's not crashing, but you got another one that is crashing, then it comes down to the motherboard. There's something that's either it's the 600 series motherboards. It could be the whole lineup. You never know. NVIDIA's drivers have been known to have issues with black screens ever since 5000 series came out, which is why I'm using 566.36. Yeah, but that's 40 series. 566.36 is December drivers for 40 series, not 50 series. 50 series started in January. If you're rocking a 40 series Mobo or a 40 series graphics card, then 566.36 is the December driver for last year. It's not going to work with a 50 series card. And if you got it to work, then let me know how you did it. If there is an issue with their PCs, it would have happened with older drivers. That's, yeah, fake frames, which is true. You would have had problems with older drivers because of the newer gaming apparatuses coming out. So it makes the older drivers inert. Basically, it kind of hinders your performance as newer drivers come out. The older ones become inert. If you guys know what I mean. They need to make sure that it's recognizing the right PCIe, whether it's 4 or 5, and do a RAM stability test. That's where I would start. Orange Joker, you're right. I did a stability test on my RAM, even though I know I got mine clocked up to 3400 megahertz from 3200 megahertz. So stability test on mine's fine. Best to buy the stuff that was designed to work together. Again, not worth the $20 you might save. True. I see people with black screen issues buying a new DisplayPort 2.1 cable. Oh my God. And it's being fixed. Or they just update their chipset drivers and it's fixed. Yeah. Or they update their GPU firmware and motherboard BIOS and it's fixed. But if you don't keep up to date on anything, it's not fixed. So that's going to be one of the issues on the market. Do they update their stuff? Have they updated their chipset drivers? Have they updated anything? Because you know, if you don't keep your chipset drivers at least up to date, you're going to wind up with instability right there. And then you're going to think, oh, I just put in the new updated drivers from NVIDIA, and guess what? I'm black screening because somebody put in the wrong chipset drivers. That's happened quite a few times too, where I had to take friends of mine because they were willy-nilly. They wanted to update their chipset drivers on their own, and they did, and they put the wrong ones in. So you got to go back in, you got to tear everything out, rebalance it, put it back in, and then show them that their driver issue was their chipset. Or that they didn't update something, they didn't update their chipset drivers, and Microsoft updated it and caused the instability. See, there's another thing. Microsoft updates. You can automatically put in a chipset driver update accidentally from Microsoft, or Microsoft can automatically update it for you, and you're not paying attention to it. There's another problem. Spend that extra $20 on your motherboard. Well, when I bought my motherboard, it was $165. So when I got my motherboard for my PC, it was $165. It's a Strix motherboard. It's the reason why I got it, because I know the testing results on this motherboard. It's the reason why I got it. So, exactly, you're still going to have some issues whether you're aware of it or not, and no reason to put extra stress on the GPU. I agree. 99% of the people don't update their chipset drivers. Yeah, and they're still dating back to what, 2016? If you don't, and know that when you update your chipset drivers, you should do it from your motherboard manufacturer, which they have the line on your AMD or Intel chipset drivers. They mold it to their motherboard. Big mistake everybody makes. They go to AMD website or they go to Intel website and download it from there, other than getting it from the motherboard manufacturer. And when they do that, then they get all Microsoft's old crap for, AMD just swaps spit between Microsoft and themselves. So if you want to get the best drivers, go with your motherboard manufacturer chipset drivers. They're going to be the best you can get, unless you want to take the chance and get it from AMD or Intel. I can tell you what, the last time I got chipset drivers from Intel, they screwed up my PC. This one here has got Intel mixed with AMD mixed, all in big monkey mess that's in the device manager. So I just leave the mess there. And then people go to their motherboard website for the chipset drivers, and usually they are old. Well, no, actually, no. Actually, Asus has been good on keep it up to date with the motherboard chipset drivers. I went to AMD. I test, and this is how I know. I went to AMD website to update the chipset drivers for this motherboard, and they were 2 years older than what Asus had. So what do you want me to do? I went with Asus. I checked the dates. Not unless they didn't keep up with anything. But obviously, anyway, your chipset drivers basically don't really need to be messed with unless there's something major that comes up that you need it for an upgrade for like GPUs or whatever, or that the mapping needs to be changed or however they do it. But you guys know. There's some PCs that I have here that are older. It's got 2007 chipset drivers. Too old. Better to go to AMD website for AMD boards and not the manufacturer. Well, I wish it was that so, but Asus Strix B450F gaming motherboard, their bias on Asus website is ancient. Yeah, I know. The latest version of AMD chipset version 7.06.02.123. It has multiple fixes. Has big one for X3D CPUs. Oh. It's missing from the Asus website. I said from, not form. I always buy motherboards the same manufacturer's time as the CPU comes out, so it's not even an issue. Yeah, you could do that too. Usually if it's been sitting on the shelf, you got to look at this too. If it's been sitting on the shelf and you went and bought it at the same time, then it's usually not going to be up to date. So if you're looking for a motherboard that's going to be recent, up to date, an 800 series motherboard is up to date. So it's nice to be able to just hit the BIOS flashback, yeah, and have a good chance of it working again if something gets really messed up. Well, you know, not on a B450 motherboard. I already tried that. Didn't work. So I'm going to end up having to pull the BIOS chip off of the motherboard, get a reprogrammer, reprogram it, and then solder it back onto the motherboard. Because obviously it couldn't do it through software. So it doesn't really seem to work every time with the BIOS flashback. Not unless you have a secondary BIOS chip on the motherboard. It's best if you're really wanting to secure your the future of your motherboard, best to get one with the secondary BIOS on it. So that way you don't have that problem. You have to see when it was released. You can't just go buy off of the shelf and assume that. Yeah, you have to look at the dates. I mean, when was the B450 manufactured? What CPU are you using with it? And when was it manufactured? Well, I go back 2 years ago on that motherboard, and I'm using it with the 5600G. So I know the motherboard's getting power, but also too I know it's the BIOS, because it's not, the motherboard's, the light's staying on and it's not breathing. So basically it's telling me that the BIOS is foobarred. Because if the motherboard still can take power, and you still get power to all the chips and everything else, then that's pretty much where the hang up is. So certain chips that are made for certain CPUs, you know what I'm saying. Yep. If you have a motherboard that is like Zen 1 and Zen 2, but wasn't made for Zen 3, like a B450, then what you had to do was do a BIOS update to bring it up to Zen 3, and then after you do the BIOS update with BIOS flashback, you can use a Zen 3 processor. But there's no backwards compatibility for Zen 2 and Zen 1. That was the deal that most of your motherboard manufacturers made when it come to the B450. So of course it wouldn't work because that motherboard is the predecessor to that CPU. It only will work with the BIOS update. If you had a 3600 in there, it would probably work right away. Probably. If you had a B550, it would probably work no problem if you flashed it back. Yeah, I have a B550, I have a B450, I'm not really worried about the motherboard because I'm using it as a collector's, basically. So it can kind of sit right where it needs to be. Of course, you can use a 5800X3D on a B450 motherboard. That's not a discussion. Yeah, I know. It'll be a little hard on it, but it will work. I do agree. I don't need flashback. I don't need to wreck my BIOS. Yeah. Well, I've probably wrecked my BIOS because my B550 motherboard's up to date, so I don't worry about it. Oh, well, almost 20 years ago that I had a BIOS issue. Yeah. Talking about using the motherboard with the chipset that was made for that CPU. So if you ever have an issue, you have a backup. Is that it's not hard to understand, bro. You don't have to shove a point in my face. Okay? I know I've been doing this 3 generations. Well, not 3 generations. I've been doing this for over 3 decades. I know all about BIOSes. I know all about chipsets. I know how to match all the chipsets and everything else. So believe it or not, I know how it works. I know how an operating system works in a PC. I know how to balance an operating system in a PC. I know how to pull all the garbage out of the PC. I know how to update the BIOS from flashback and also update the BIOS from Windows. So yeah, I know how to do all that. I'm going back all the way to Windows 3.1 to Windows 1.0. I've did all the operating systems. Right now, I'm learning Linux. I'm teaching myself to learn Linux so I can get my hands and grip on it as well. Born Joker, no problem, bro. I thought that was directed at me. My bad. Just saying. I thought that was directed at me, man. B550 wasn't released until 5 or 6 months after Zen 3 was released. I do agree. I do agree. They started that off with the X570, didn't they? If I remember right, they started off with an X570. Yeah, but the B450, the update wasn't released until after Zen 3 was released. Way after Zen 3 was released. For the B450. And there were some issues about the 300 series having a BIOS update for the 5000 series GPUs. Some people were able to do, what was it, the X series and get it to work with the 5000 series. So if you're upgrading, it's not really an issue because you can just download the new BIOS beforehand. But if you're building the computer, it can be a hassle. Born Joker, I do agree with that. Because if you're a first-time builder and you went and you bought a decent motherboard, but you wanted the newest processor that just came out, but the thing is this: you didn't have the money to buy the generation you needed in order to update the BIOS on that motherboard, because now you need a secondary CPU in order to update the motherboard. And then guess what? You have the new chip in your hand and you have the motherboard in your hand and you have no which way to go. And this was the biggest problem. That's the reason why they came out with the BIOS flashback. Back years ago, that used to be a problem because the only way you can update the BIOS was on Windows. That was a big issue back then. So when they did come out with BIOS flashback, everybody fell apart. They love it like no other. Because you don't need a CPU in the motherboard. You don't need the RAM in the motherboard. All you need is the power to the motherboard, but you don't need to turn on the motherboard. You just download the latest BIOS, you plug it in to the back where it says for BIOS update, your USB type A, hold down the button, let it do its thing, and pray to God, everybody says this, pray to God that your power does not go out. That's the catch. And if it doesn't finish and your power goes out, you might as well, you're going to be taking your motherboard to a technician to have them pull off the BIOS to reflash it, for you to unbrick your motherboard. Just because if the power goes out and it doesn't complete, your motherboard's not totally dead. This is a mistake everybody makes. They turn around and say, oh, I bricked my motherboard, and they throw it in the garbage. Perfectly brand new motherboard. I had a few people I knew that did that. And I said, dudes, why did you throw it out? Oh, my motherboard's bricked. I tried to update the BIOS and it doesn't turn on now. That's where I keep scratching my head. Unless you're hit by lightning, the motherboard is repairable. I mean, not a hassle, but an extra step. I just prefer compatibility. Yeah, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do, and especially if you're going to save $1. You'll fight over that compatibility, and bring your motherboard up to date and make it compatible to save yourself an extra 20. If you're upgrading, it's really not an issue. You can have just downloaded the new BIOS beforehand, but if you are building a computer, it can be a hassle. We talked about that. I know about 1,000 times or more about hardware than software. So I use what I know. Hey, we all do. It's the same song and dance. You should definitely spend the money on a power backup. Yeah. It gives your computer a clean power, which is very important. Agreed. Because it has what they call a line softener. Basically, it keeps the balance, the amount of voltage with the amount of amperage. It keeps it balanced. So when you get low voltage power, like a power spike from your electric company, your battery backup will still keep the line in balance for the amount of time that it goes in and out. Yeah, I do agree with you. Big Frame says, first thing I do when I get a motherboard, I use BIOS flashback. Yeah, I agree with you. Yellow says BIOS flashback lets you flash the motherboard. Flash with the latest version in the BIOS. It doesn't have to be done with the old version. That was out before your CPU was released, etc. I do agree. So if you have BIOS flashback, you're always good. I do agree with that. If you don't, then you're going to be screwed anyway. Yeah. It has something to do with a sine wave. Exactly. That's the word you want to look for. Amazon Basics brand, made by one of the good companies. I just forgot the name. There was a battery backup that I got when I was down in Florida. It had a dinky little 12-volt battery in there. I said, what is that going to give me as far as length of time of, for my PC if the power goes out? How long is that going to give me? I looked at the box because I went and bought one. I think it was an ACS or something like that. I went and bought a battery backup. And it says only lasts 3 to 5 minutes. You guys know, when it comes to a PC, right? I got my PC and it's definitely going to pull the power. So 3 to 5 minutes. That don't work for me. So I went down to the automotive store. I got me two 1000 cold cranking amp batteries. I know I shouldn't, but I did. And I used 1000 amp non-reversible diodes, which allow the power one way and not the other. So, doing all that on a battery backup. That's being creative. So, with the battery backup, trickle charging the batteries, I don't mind. So when the power went out, down, I think it was down in Florida, it was Hurricane Helena. Power was out for a couple days. So, you know how I kept my computer on? Since the inner boob was still on. I think it was. All I had to do was connect to the car and do a quick charge. That's stable enough for me. I prefer those batteries anyway. I don't have to worry about anything blowing up. I get a lot of brief power outages more than anything. So it's perfect for me. Also too, you can use, what is it, one of those gel cell batteries? 2000 amp gel cells or something? Those work too. Those will last a long time. But I just thought deep cycled marine batteries would have been better. I was going to try that, but I wasn't going to go there with it. So, I'm lucky where I live. We have really stable power. That's cool. Very reliable until there's a thunderstorm. And you get brief outages during storms, don't you? Oh, here, if the dog pees on the pole, we lose electricity. So we've been lucky the electric hasn't been going out. But I'm here in Cali now, not in Florida. So Florida was like, heavy storm, you might as well forget it. If I lived somewhere else, I'd have a UPS. You still have power fluctuations that can cause excessive heat in your PSU. Yeah, every computer should have a battery backup. You know, that would be a good idea. That'd be like if you had a double stack computer to where on top you have a UPS unit, a battery backup on the bottom, and on top you have your computer. So battery backup on the bottom, and then, you know, that would be cool. I am in the northern Midwest in the USA. Not me. I'm stuck on the West Coast. I'm stuck with the sand dunes and the mirages. So if I stare out in the heat long enough, I can stare at an oasis with a nice blonde girl standing there holding a Bud Light. Or maybe a Corona. And got my lawn chair out for me with my slippers. And a big Havana cigar. How about that? But that's just a dream. So. They just started making battery backups with UPS built in. But I would lose a year. Yep. They would have to make it where you can replace the battery. For me, I'd buy it. I'm at UPS with the battery backup built in. If you actually look at it, if you took off the side panel of the case of your computer and down at the bottom you had a battery backup with the battery built in right there, and all you had to do is unscrew the one screw and the tray slides out, and then you could just take an unhook and put the new battery backup in. Yeah. That would be worth it. That's until the conversion board, the power conversion board goes out to where it's stopped making 12 volts of power, and then you get a power surge and everything goes out, and guess what? Your battery backup didn't help. It didn't last long. Those battery backups don't last long, especially if they're continuous trickle charging. They don't last that long. So my idea was use the case as a passive cooler. It would have a plate that would attach to the CPU. Then it wouldn't need any fans. If it was passive water cooling, you didn't need no fans. But the problem with that is it doesn't dissipate the heat neither. Makes it worse. Without having a slight air movement, I don't think it'd be really kosher to subject your motherboard to that kind of torture without any kind of air cooling fans. I seen somebody do that. I think Linus Tech Tips did that, to where he made it all passive, that he had a passive computer or something like that. That wasn't good. Similar to an industrial computer, they have a heat sink that's on the back of it, on the back of the case. Yeah, I know which one you're talking about. For it looks like an amplifier for a car stereo. But mine would have a housing. Trick is to use what you know already works, I guess. Yeah. I agree with that. I agree. Don't step out of the comfort zone. Just go with what you know. You know how many times I've had to step out of my comfort zone to move up when it comes to UEFI, going back from an AMI BIOS and, you know, MS-DOS to now? My God. If anybody had to do MS-DOS right now, I think they all would take and crap in their pants. How many of you all in the chat, ever had to deal with MS-DOS? How many? See, the thing is, I would love something like that for myself. Since I am a smoker, it would be ideal. Oh, I understand. I used to use MS-DOS. And there's one. How many else used to use MS-DOS? Now, if I told you guys, how many of you out there, DV says I did. Yeah, my first computer had MS-DOS. I sold it like 2 weeks later. Oh, God. Bought another one after Windows came out. Novel. Dr. MS-DOS. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I used to have a page of the commands wrote down so I wouldn't forget them. I know, right? Yeah. I used to have one of those hard diskettes, the 3.5 hard diskettes. I had all the codes put on, I put it all in there. And guess what happened? A friend of mine decided to use one of my 3.5 diskettes for a coaster and spilt beer all over the damn thing. And I told him, I said, dude, you know, you just did an MS mini dump on my diskette. I did type win. Win INI, y'all. Win INI. I told myself I'm never going to do that again. Put any of my friends near my computer stuff. I told them if they got any drinks, and I've learned my lesson since then. Anybody that comes over here, their drinks stay outside of the door. They don't come in here with drinks. See, I have a coverage of mine. And it weighs about 10 pounds too, so it ain't moving. I just to change the command prompt in my friend's computer. Oh God, I'm not repeating that. Sorry. YouTube rules. Yeah, back then programmers were gods. Not like they aren't today though. Yeah, that's because right now, what do they have? They have the new AI programmer. And nobody learned coding anymore. You know, I need to catch up on that though. I'm not talking about the AI coding bot neither. I mean, if I want an AI coding bot, I just go to chat Copilot and ask Copilot to write me up a quick code for whatever's out there. Just make them even more deadly. Yeah, right. Yeah. Have you not, guys, have you not heard? Have you guys not heard that some companies are starting to use AI to write code for their software? Oh, who did that? I think NVIDIA was doing that. And somebody said that AMD was starting to do that, and some people were saying Intel was starting to do that too. I don't know. They can run things with one click. Now there'll be a 15 step ahead of you before you even know what's going on. Oh yeah, well, look at all the data that's out there. Are you surprised? Look at all the data that's out there. I mean, the metadata alone is so huge. How can AI not predict? They'll go through 10 minutes of what you just said and they'll say, "Yep, stuck on stupid. Yep, stuck on stupid. Yep, stuck on stupid." Hey, I'm not the one that said that. Somebody else told that to me. So I fixed some emulation errors in MAME using AI to help on ancient systems that got added into the main version of the program. Nice. They've been doing it for years. Just a little while back, they pretty much switched over to that completely where applicable. Yeah. It's good. It's good for bouncing ideas off. What, Copilot? Yeah, hell yeah. Look. Copilot to me, is like a drunken sailor. Sorry guys, I'm just trying to figure out why my phone's freaking out. That's what I'm trying to figure out. That's probably why. Yep. You gotta love technology. I don't know. I want to ask you guys this question. How many times have you guys had to restart your Android phone within a day? How many times have you have to do that? I'm doing it 3 times a day now. Is it me or am I losing my mind? A patch that would used to take weeks now takes hours. Yep. AI always makes a mistake when coding. That is true. I had a couple mistakes made on a couple programs it was trying to make me. So it's not perfect. And most of that time is just them entertaining the prompt. Sometimes I learn more by correcting AI mistakes. Yeah. Oh yeah. I don't ever restart Android. Maybe once every few months just to be safe. I don't have that problem with my Samsung A42. Well, I don't know. Maybe because my phone's like some kind of Chinesium crap. Who knows? But I use my phone so much, it's like I gotta start it non-stop. Oh my God. Let's see. After something like that is a few years old, let it get corrupted. So you have to buy a new one. Look, that's only 3 months old. That is only 3 months old. Yeah. And it acts like a drunken sailor. They have this pastor from PM Church using ChatGPT to learn what language the Holy Spirit talked. Oh my God. I've never had a problem with Samsung. I know, I need to go back to Samsung. Yes, Samsung is pretty good 95% of the time. When did that model come out? No idea. It was supposed to be on a deal from T-Mobile. I know you guys are gonna say it. T-Mobile sucks. I know you're gonna say it right there. So we'll just call it right there. It was a deal they had this year. I'm thinking about going with Spectrum. So it's not necessarily a few months old. You just bought it a few months ago. Yep, pretty much. Yeah, I just bought it a few months ago, man. I probably use it too much. It's probably what it is. I used to be on T-Mobile 15 years ago. Yeah, that's the thing. I'm on O2 as well. That's the thing. Yeah, those kind of sales, you might get a year out of the phone before it starts to getting slow, having to reset it. That much already is crazy. Must be really old model. The market changes so fast. Your phone is an old model after 30 days. That's how fast the market's changing right now. So after 30 days, your phone is an old model. Because they already got something new coming out. When it comes to the phone tech, that's how fast the phone tech is moving right now. You can sneeze and they already said, well, we're going to upgrade to the newest BIOS or the newest software for the phone. You can just sneeze and it's already got a new operating system. So I buy prepaid phones, get the whole year's service and the phone for $80. The one I have now, over a year service on it. My old Samsung from 2018 still works great. That's cool. That's cool. I don't think I really don't think my Razor phone. You guys remember those Razor phones when they first came out? I think it's a Motorola. When they first came out, I think I still got mine. What was that, from 1980 something? Damn, I'm old, guys. From 1980 something. Damn. Once every few months, I have to spend $10 to put more minutes on it. In fact, it's 2017. I still have my Razor. Hello, Moto. Yeah. I got a Nokia 3310 too. I threw stuff like that out because I'm afraid it could start a fire one day. I've seen too many YouTube videos. Yeah. I mean, damn. Your first phone you can never throw out. What you do is you open up the back of it, you go in there, you make sure you have a little bit of black electrical tape. You go where the positive section is and you just clip it right there on the positive section and tape up the battery lead for the positive section. Make sure nothing hits it, close it back up. It'll leak all over in 20 years. So that's like Taboo Tuesday for you. I actually would like to come out with a product with fireproof drawers that you can store your batteries and things like that, so you wouldn't have to worry about the bag they have are horrible. Yeah, that'd be cool. Sewn into your underwear, and guess what? Hopefully it doesn't leak. That would be weird. I didn't get a new phone until 2014. I was still on my old Motorola for 10 years. I spent 12 years on my beeper. How many of y'all remember those? I still have either Google cell phone. Yeah. My boss forced me to get a smartphone. Oh God. Oh God. I spent about 12 years on a beeper. The boss said to me I needed to have one because in case the boss needed to get a hold of me, I needed something for them to get a hold of me. So I was forced to get a beeper and keep that damn thing on me 24/7 for 12 years. It sucked. Especially when you're paying for the cost of the use of your beeper. Guys, you're paying close to $50 a month just for a beeper that you couldn't even talk on. Could you imagine that? That sucks. As much money as I paid out to have one of those beepers. Oh my God. Okay, I mean like a cabinet or something with drawers not in my drawers that are my underwear. Well, I had to throw that in there, man. I remember beepers and the old phones. You all remember those big old phones that are like this big? Looks like it's something the CIA used to use. Damn, those things were huge. They had a fat old battery in it too. Yeah, the brick phones. I don't have to worry. I don't have to worry. My wife get me the cell phone. I got a beeper when they were cheap, right before cell phones. I think I had it for a year, maybe. Beepers are making the comeback. I kind of heard that too. So, dude, if you have beepers, I'm going to have to report you. Yeah, right. You could unlock them and turn them into a cell phone scanner. I heard something about that. I heard something about that. Also, too, with those Razor phones, here's a little trick. Back then, when it was hard to get internet, they had their plug-in cord. You could plug it right into your computer. Go in and change a couple settings. And you just turned your PC, your phone into an internet hotspot. Those Razor phones were good with that. Those were pretty good with that, especially on Windows. What was it, Windows 7? They were pretty good back then. Wow, guys, I cannot believe that we go from PCs to beepers. Oh my goodness. PCs to beepers. Oh yeah, that reminds me too, the project that I am working on with the graphics cards and the graphics cards, so that doesn't get ruined, and the graphics cards. I was able to get the drivers for this finally, and the graphics cards I got to start over again. I have to redo the whole operating system over again. I have to reinstall Windows 11. But I'm not going to reinstall Windows 11. I am going to reinstall Windows 10. I got a kick out of that overclocking beepers. I'm gonna grab something to eat. Everybody have a great evening. Born Joker, you have a great evening too, man. Enjoy your meal. Enjoy your meal. DV, I think Yellow was saying bye to Born Joker. Not sure, but I'm sure Yellow comment back on that. So, but guys, anyway, this has been great. I mean, look, I've been partying along with you guys for a couple hours now, and I do apologize for being kind of late because am I missing something? I must be missing something because I started the stream. No, I'm not. Oh, okay. My bad. I had to look and see when I started the stream. I thought I started the stream at 2:30, but it was around 3:30. So yeah. Oh man. But anyway, guys, I'm just letting you guys know that I'm working on that project of benchmarking. I know it seems like it's crazy, but right now I got the 4 gigabyte cards. I got one 8 gigabyte card and I got a 12 gigabyte card. So I'm just going to benchmark them. I'm going to try benchmarking on Linux. I'm going to try benchmarking on Windows with these cards and see how well they do. But I am working on the same project, but a project inside of that project. Now I have to take and build a folder, a special kind of folder for the drivers. So when I unplug the card and I plug a new one in, the drivers will automatically load. I want to be able to do that so it automatically switch to different graphics cards, so I don't run into the problem that I ran into with these older cards. The newer cards, you can get away with this. The 40 series, you can get away with it because they're all sharing the same driver detail. It's all packaged into one. Just like the 50 series, just like the 30 series, just like the 20 series. But the 16 series and the 700 series did not come with the same drivers. So that's the challenge. That's the challenge of taking the current drivers for those graphics cards, building them into the driver database. So when I pull one card out, I don't have to worry about it, and I can plug a new one in. I want to build it back into the driver database. As you all heard, that Microsoft in Windows 24H2 was removing the older driver database. That's including the cards that are discontinued. So they're removing the old driver database, even for your graphics card. So just keep that in mind. Now I have to rebuild a new driver database because they didn't do it right on the first time. If you remember Windows 95, you guys remember how many times you get blue screened on Windows 95 because of the wrong corrupted driver. Is what it is. But anyway, more projects to come, like I told you guys, and we're going to keep working on it. And when I get the platform all set and ready, I'm going to start doing the benchmarks live on the channel. So that way you guys can come along with me and see what I see and just go from there. So, but anyway, guys, I'm going to jump out of here. I'm going to call it quits for the evening. And I thank you everybody for hanging out with me tonight to shoot the breeze and, you know, catch a few things that happened through the week. And hopefully you guys caught everything. And if you didn't, then make sure you go back and you can replay the video. Just start at the beginning so you catch up on whatever you want to catch up on or what you missed. But I want everybody to have a fine evening and be safe out there because the world has gone into crazy chaos. So anyway, if this is your first time here, hit the subscribe button and the like button. Don't forget about the notification bell so you know when I post the next video. Until the next time and the next video, you know who it is. We'll see you on the next one. Oh, and P.S. don't forget, I have a membership thing going on for YouTube. If you want to hit join, it'll help out the channel. So, you too, Yellow. You have a good night, DV, and everybody that's on the channel. Y'all have a great one, and we will see you on the next one.